Hello everybody and welcome back to Southeast by Midwest on YouTube. I'm Cassie and today we are going to be reviewing the Morphe and Kathleen Lights eyeshadow palette. So if you want to know my thoughts on this palette, is it worth it? Then keep watching. Okay, as I mentioned in the intro, today we are going to be talking about the Morphe and Kathleen Lights palette collaboration. And for my review, I'm going to be kind of comparing it to one of the actual Morphe 35 palettes. Just because this is what they're more, known for. This is what's more popular. The smaller palettes are something that is just now starting. A good example of that is, for example, when Jaclyn Hill put out her favorites palette, it was done in the style of a 35 palette. So we're going to talk about, kind of this palette compared to this palette, and then just my general thoughts on this palette. I may try to swatch like on the YouTube channel, but if I'm not able to for whatever reason, if I have to edit them out or I just don't get to it, then the swatches will for sure be on the blog post down below, or I'll try to insert a photo like in here as we go along, as I've already taken those photos, so I know that they will be there. Let's talk outer packaging. So this is the packaging for one of the 35 palettes. You just got the plain Morphe with the website down at the bottom, and then on the back you get the ingredients and the little barcode which tells you which one you have. I have multiple ones. I just grabbed which one happened to be the easiest to get to at the moment, and it happened to be the 35 OS. I'm not, comparing the actual insides of the palettes. I'm just wanting to show you comparisons of the packaging. So this is Kathleen's packaging bottom to bottom. As you can see, she loses some here and she loses some at the top. What she loses, she makes up for in the packaging. This is kind of a matte black, as you can see there, whereas this one is kind of glossy. As you can see, it actually says Kathleen Lights, and it's got some lights on it. And on the back, she has her photo and a little kind of blurb. It actually says, "I'm so happy to be sharing this palette with you guys. It was so fun to think of all the different colors. I love wearing and putting them together. I can't get enough of it, and I hope you feel the same way. You guys mean the world to me. Thank you for always being so loving and supportive. Enjoy, XOXO." And then they have the initial KL down at the bottom. Now, I don't know if anybody has ever mentioned this in their reviews of Morphe palettes, but when you get one of the Morphe palettes, it comes with this like bubble wrap little envelope inside of it, and the palette kind of nestles in between two layers on the left and two layers on the right. It's kind of like two things of like bubble wrap envelopes sewn together on the seam, and the palette just kind of fits right in there. I mentioned that because with Kathleen's palette, it did have that same protection in there. I need to quit saying It did have that same protective bubble wrap layer on the inside. So that was the outer packaging. Oh, and the ingredients are actually on her seam right there along with the barcode if you were to purchase this in store. For outer packaging, I actually prefer Kathleen's, because if these are sitting on my vanity and I happen to have my other Morphe palettes, I'm not going to be able to tell the difference unless I mark this front in some way, or if I flip it over and look at the barcode. So my, right now I'm currently keeping them in box. So if they get jumbled up, I have no way of knowing which palette is which. I have to actually take the time to go through and look at the little initials to figure out which one's which. Whereas with Kathleen's, you can just kind of tell. One, it's a little smaller, and two, she's got that kind of picture on the front. So with outer packaging, I like Morphe's outer packaging, but I love what they did with hers. So let's move on to the inner packaging. For the inner packaging, a Morphe 35 palette, for comparison, is just the sleek black plastic. And then, again, to figure out which palette you're using, you flip it over, and there's a sticker right there at the bottom that tells you which palette you are using. And like I said, it's plastic, and it has this kind of hard to open little clasp right there that you gotta kind of get your fingernail under or use a pair of tweezers. There's no mirror on the inside, and it's just this nice big kind of palette. It does have a protective plastic layer over the top, which you can discard once you're done with it, or however you want to do it. But that is what the actual palette looks like for a 35, for those who've never seen one. So this is the Kathleen Lights palette. As you can tell from the outer packaging, this one is smaller. However, hers is cardboard instead of the plastic, and instead of having a closure, it's actually magnetic. Again, no mirror, and as you can see, there are far less eyeshadows in here. The 35 palette obviously has 35, whereas this one only has 15. Now, for the 35s, it depends on what palette you get as to what kind of mix of shades you get. For example, the 35O palette is a mix of mattes and shimmers. However, they did two separate palettes after they came out with the 35O, which is a 35OS and a 35OM. The OS is all shimmers, the OM is all mattes. So it depends on which palette you're getting as to the mix. Like for instance, the 35T, which is the 35 taupe, I believe is a mix of matte and shimmers like the 35O is. With Kathleen's, hers are also a mix of mattes and shimmer shades. With Kathleen's, she has 7 shimmers and 8 matte shades. The shimmers are, in which these will be listed on the blog post, but they are the white here on the very first one in here, and then these two on the end on the first row, and then the two here in the middle are shimmers, and then these two here on this end are shimmers. So this one is a shimmer, and then these two here are shimmers, these two are shimmers, and then these two are shimmers. The rest are mattes. So you do get a shimmer white, a matte white, and then a matte black, kind of basics in an eyeshadow palette. Also for the outer packaging, I'm going to have to tilt it to the side a little bit because I don't know if it'll pick up on the camera, but it says Morphe x Kathleen Lights, and it's in the classic Morphe red, but it kind of has like a glitter kind of, or a metallic, I should say, kind of sheen to it. So when it's laying flat, you can actually see what it is. So now that we've compared the two, let's actually talk about my thoughts on the palette. For packaging, I love the fact that it is the cardboard with the magnetic. I find that because I have used this, I'm not just, you know, first impressioning that this is an actual review. I have actually used these eyeshadows. I'm actually wearing them today. So, you know, I've actually used this. So with the packaging, I like the fact that it's magnetic because I can just kind of flip it up and I can talk to you like this. It also makes it easier for when it's down on like a flat surface on my vanity. I can just kind of flick it up, catch it, and then fold it back. I don't have to actually stop, pick it up, and whatever. So not having to take the time to pop it open when I just kind of flick it is a lot better. It also makes it easier, you know, doing tutorials and stuff. My only complaint about the packaging of the palette is the fact that there is no mirror. Now, the actual Morphe palettes, the 35s, don't come with a mirror either. But, you know, I kind of feel like, you know, I get that as a YouTuber, you know, constantly having to either flip this back and break that spine or having to cover it is annoying. But on the other hand, you know, when you're sitting there doing your makeup, like in a tutorial, you don't want to have to sit there and have this over to the side and keep dipping or whatever, you know, while you're sitting there all hunkered down in a mirror or having another mirror and trying to figure this one. Just being able to have a mirror right there would have been great. But like I said, the other Morphes don't have a mirror, so it's not like they took something out. I just personally wish they would have added something in. Now, as for the shadows themselves, I will say that when you use them on your fingers, when you rub your fingers in to swatch them, they really don't have like a kick up or anything like that. They perform really well. However, when you go in with a brush, especially this kind of cranberry shade right here, it does give some kick up, but it is not patchy or anything like that on the skin. They are all very, very, very good quality eyeshadows. They blend super well. They blend without blending away, which I really, really like. The only reason I mentioned the kick up is because, one, you're going to want to make sure that you're tapping that brush, and two, if you're worried about things like, you know, fallout and stuff, not having to kind of redo your face makeup when you're using some of like the red shade did it, and it was like the powder, the matte shades, like the red did it, and this kind of orangey shade right here did it. If working with those shades, you're going to want to kind of do your eyes first. If you're not worried about it and you're going to go in with like concealer or something like that afterwards, then it's totally fine. But like I said, they performed super, super well. I would say that if I was going to give this like a 5-star type thing, I would actually give this I would say like 5 stars. I really, really loved it. If I was going to drop it, I would drop it to a 4.5, and only because of the fact that it does not have a mirror. However, like I said, that's, you know, they didn't take that out, so I really can't dock Morphe for that, you know what I mean? You get 15 eyeshadows in here, and like I said, 7 of them are shimmers, 8 of them are mattes, and it was only $15. It did sell out within the first day, and initially Morphe said that they were not going to be bringing it back. However, they have recently announced that they will be bringing it back, so I'm going to try and see if I can find it on their website to go on ahead and link it down below. But when I was looking for the link for my blog post as I was writing it the other day, I could not find a link. They had taken it down. No promises on that. However, when it does go live, I will, you know, put that on social media. So you're going to want to make sure to follow me there for that. So overall, this was a great collaboration. I'm glad I took the time to purchase it and to get in on that. Usually I'm not one that jumps in on the super popular stuff right at the beginning, because honestly, usually I don't have the money for it. So I found out about this in time to kind of have a little money saved back to be able to do it. And like I said, I'm really super glad that I did. I love it. It is great. Good job on Morphe for picking someone so great to collab with, who picked some truly amazing colors. I like that you can kind of get in there with some pops of color with that green shade. You can also mute down that green shade by putting it with some of the darker shades. It kind of has some everyday looks. It has some fall kind of looks that you can do in there. It really is. She really picked some great shadows, and good job on Kathleen for picking a company that does have some good quality eyeshadows. But for this palette, it is an amazing palette. It has great quality. If you link through to the blog post below, you'll see, you know, the quality of the swatches. The way that I did them is I swatched in this whole row, the top row in one photo, the second row in the second photo, and the third row in the third photo. If you want to actually see the swatches, I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to try to insert them right here. Hopefully that works. If not, click the link down below for the blog post. So what you're going to see in this first photo is this top row, and starting at the top, it's going to go to this white shimmer, the white matte, this kind of camel brown shade, and then this kind of champagne shimmer shade. And then down the side, over to the side, it's this kind of cranberry shimmer. Now this photo here is the middle row, and the top one is this kind of cool toned brown, and then this taupe shade, and then this kind of bronzy shimmer, then this light cranberry shade, and going down is the deep cranberry shade. And then this last photo is this kind of a muddy green almost. Then it's the bright green, and then it's this other brown shade, and then it's kind of this mustardy yellow shade, and then going down is the matte black. Hopefully that helped you. If you want to see them in actual, you know, in front of you, like I said, click the blog post down below. Hopefully you liked this video and you found it informative. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Share it with all your friends. That really does help a lot. Let me know in the comments down below if you plan on purchasing this. Make sure to follow me on the social media link down below, and check out the blog post for swatches and full details and all that kind of stuff. And until next time, bye!